The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard proposed that there are three fundamentally different ways of orienting one's own life. We have the aesthetic sphere, the ethical sphere, and the religious sphere. They are fundamentally different to each other. Before we begin, I would like to know which one of these spheres do you think you're in at the moment, before you know anything about them. Please leave a comment down below, I would love to know. So which Kierkegaardian sphere are you in? Let's find out. Here is the main feature of all of them. If one would try to define the aesthetic sphere in one sentence, it would probably be maximizing one's own pleasure in the instant moment. Let's unpack this a little bit, shall we? One's own. Well, yes, the aesthetic sphere is very self-centered and narcissistic. It's all about me, myself, and I, and other people are simply tools or means to an end. Sensual pleasure. Well, this one is pretty self-explanatory. We're talking sex, drugs, alcohol, you name it. And also music and art, actually. I'll get to that one in a bit. The instant moment. Yeah, the aesthetician is only relating himself or herself to the present moment. The past time, the future, and the eternal doesn't really exist. Everything is centered around the present moment. And this is why music is king within the aesthetic sphere, because music solely lives within the present moment. If you don't have present time, there is no music. So let's talk about certain activities. Alcohol is one of those clear aesthetic activities. When you're drinking alcohol, what you're doing is actually sacrificing the future for the present moment, for a night of alcoholic bliss. So if your main goal in life is to gain more pleasure within the ever-fleeting present moment, then you're probably in the aesthetic sphere. But if one evolves into the ethical sphere, one realizes that the past and the future exist and that it is wise to act accordingly. For instance, one can look back in time via our memories and evaluate which action one did was good and which was bad, and then use this information in the present moment so one can do good actions that one can benefit from in the future. Let's talk about sex. Sex is one of those interesting activities that is completely dependent upon the intention of the act rather than the act itself, if it will end up in the aesthetic or the ethical sphere. Masturbation, for instance. Would you, masturbating at this moment, help you in any of your future goals? Probably not. What do you guys think? And also, if you're trying to find someone solely for the purpose of sex, I would put this in the aesthetic category as well. The way I see it is that a one-night stand really is group masturbation. It's only a group of people helping each other out to gain more pleasure within the present moment. The other person is simply a tool to gain more pleasure. But here is the thing. If one finds a partner and have sex for the purpose of starting a family, then the very same act has evolved into the ethical sphere, for it is now related to the future of a family. Kierkegaard also highlights the importance of marriage within the ethical sphere. For what marriage really is the abandonment of the ego. The me, myself, and I dissolves into a first-person plural, a strong we, a family. The problem with the aesthetic and the ethical sphere within Kierkegaard's philosophy is that they inevitably will lead you to despair and hopelessness. And the reason why is because none of these spheres are related to the eternal. only the religious sphere has a relation to the eternal. Death is an inescapable void of nothingness without God. And if one is only relating himself or herself to the past, present, and future, one cannot but feel despair over the infinite nothingness which lies ahead. So how does one enter the religious sphere? I would say that this one is the trickiest one of them all. But Kierkegaard extensively talks about the story of Abraham and Isaac in his book Fear and Trembling. Abraham became what Kierkegaard called a knight of faith, for he made the complete irrational decision to follow the word of God and sacrificing his son. The sacrifice was intervened by an angel according to the story, but the main point is that Abraham did as he was told, without questioning God. But I don't know, is a complete irrational leap of faith the only way to enter the religious sphere? What do you guys think? Is there another way? I also want to highlight another thing within Kierkegaard's philosophy, and it is the idea of Socratic irony. Kierkegaard's first major work, which is seldomly talked about, is on the concept of irony with a continual reference to Socrates. In my opinion, this book is a key in fully understanding Kierkegaard's philosophy. In short, there is no such thing as knowledge about God. Let me elaborate a little bit. If you've ever read Plato's dialogue Euthyphro, there we can find Socrates and Euthyphro having a discussion upon the very nature of piety. And the thing with that discussion is that it ends without a result. You're reading pages upon pages only to come to the conclusion of nothingness. The thing is that we cannot really come to a conclusion about what piety, or God for that matter, is. We cannot gain knowledge about Him. There is no knowledge about God. That is why it's also irrational. It is a leap of faith. If there is no knowledge about God, how did Abraham know that he should sacrifice Isaac? Good question. What do you guys think? So which one is it? Are you in the aesthetic, the ethic, or the religious sphere? Please leave a comment down below. I would love to know. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care. Until the next one.